Okay, so getting back into our coverage over the 2014 Deathstroke series, we actually pick up with Volume 4. Now, Volume 4 is the first time, the first story arc that is not going to be written by Tony Daniels, the original writer of this series. It does get taken over by a new writer known as James Boney, who writes the rest of the issues of this series. Now, with that being said, when it comes to Volume 4, it does pick up where Volume 3 left off at. Now remember, in Volume 3, Deathstroke found out that his daughter was kidnapped. The problem was though, every single time he found a clue, it would lead him into a different kind of direction where he had to fight against different characters of the DC universe. So for example, he had to fight against the Suicide Squad, or Red Hood, Lex Luthor, AI Lex Luthor, Bizarro, and the list goes on and on and on. Except at the end of Volume 3, he came to find out that his daughter was never kidnapped. That matter of fact, this guy known as the Lawman came to her and said, I want to help you get rid of your father. I know you hate him, and guess what? I hate him as well. If we work together, we can get rid of your father. And so at the end of Volume 3, he was confronted by Lawman and also his daughter, but also confronted by Snakebite as well, another character we saw in Volume 3. Now, at the end of Volume 3, he also got betrayed by Victor Ruse, somebody he was working alongside with a group known as the Dead Bastards, except we kind of find out Victor is also working for Lawman as well, because Lawman apparently wants revenge against Deathstroke, and we have no idea why. But he might get that revenge now because it's now him and Ravager working together. And so getting into today's storyline, we actually pick up with a flashback that takes place 5 years ago. Now, 5 years ago, Slade Wilson was just your regular dude working for the military and sometimes doing some mercenary work. Now, with that being said though, he was working alongside a partner known as Wardell Chambers. Now, when it comes to Wardell Chambers, he is the guy who becomes Lawman. And we kind of find out how that happened in this book as well. Either way, we kind of find out 5 years ago, they were in Kahndaq on a special mission to figure out what the group KRA was trying to ship out to different countries around the world. And they found out that KRA was trying to ship out meta-human bloods for unknown reasons. And so it came down to Slade and Warden to work together to basically shut down this operation. The problem is though, the way things went out, we're left to believe that Wardell died at the end of that mission. And so getting back over to the present day, we do get confirmation that this is Wardell Chambers, that he is Lawman. Now, when it comes to Wardell Chambers, he tells Deathstroke, if only you came back for me. You believed I died after getting shot, to not realize I survived that bullet. I could have survived the transport back home. Even though I was bleeding out, you could have still saved me, except you just left me there to die. You didn't realize I survived. But after you left me, the KRA, they took me in and began to run different kinds of experiments on me. When it came to meta-human blood, they wanted to see what happens to a regular person once they injected metahuman blood inside their body. And of course, it did change me. It gave me abilities, the ability to control people, to play with their minds. And so I was able to tap into their minds and kind of tap into their feelings, to make them go all crazy and angry, to kill themselves, but to also free me. But after that moment right there, I realized what I want to do first, which is kill you off. Now, you have Lawman also tell us that when it comes to Ravager, the daughter of Deathstroke, yes, she is working alongside with him, but technically working for him, not alongside with him. And what I mean by that is he was able to use the same mind game he did those soldiers all those years ago on Ravager to bring out the feelings of hatred she has towards her father. And with that hatred, he was able to turn her onto his side to help him get ready to kill off her father, Deathstroke. And so technically she is being controlled by Lawman. Now here is something else. You have Lawman tell us he is working for a new group known as the Nova Council. Now when it comes to the Nova Council, their main goal is to go after metahumans who are criminals, but the metahumans who are out there in the world trying to make money with their powers. Like Deathstroke, he is a metahuman, a mercenary out in the world trying to make money. And so his goal is to bring him in. And of course, this leads into our battle where you have Deathstroke trying to fight against Lawman, but also his daughter, Victor Ruse, is Snakebite as well. And so that is when we are reminded about Red Hood. Because remember, at the end of our last video, Red Hood was hired by Lawman to go after Deathstroke, only to keep him busy a tad bit longer so that Lawman plans can come together. Now, when it came to the ending of the last story arc, Red Hood got knocked out by Deathstroke and Victor, except you had Deathstroke bring Red Hood along with their trip over to Montana, just to say, hey, I'm not going to leave you here to get arrested by the police of Metropolis. Because Red Hood and Deathstroke were fighting against each other, the police of Metropolis were trying to arrest them both. And so for Deathstroke, he's all like, nah, man, I'm not going to leave you here to get arrested. Come with me. And so when Red Hood wakes up, he realized that Deathstroke is in trouble, but he also owes Deathstroke one. And so this is Red Hood beginning the process of helping out Deathstroke. Now, after Red Hood is able to save Deathstroke, you didn't have the two characters run somewhere to hide for the time being. Now, both characters realize that they're outnumbered. You got Lawman, you got Snakebite, Ravager, Victor against our two heroes. But on top of that, Deathstroke only brought swords with him, no guns at all. And so unfortunately, the bad guys do have the advantage here. Either way, you do have the two characters work together to buy them more time until they are able to figure out what is their next move. Now, that is when you have Lawman begin to use his powers on Red Hood. And what I mean by that is he has Red Hood believe that Batman is there. Now, when it comes to Jason, even though he hates Bruce Wayne with a passion, he is still trying to prove something to Bruce Wayne. And so when Batman does appear, it's Batman saying, hey, Jason, come with me. Let's go kill off the Joker. Something else that Jason always wanted to do. Kill off the Joker. And so he begins to walk away. And that leaves Deathstroke by himself against all these guys. And so that leaves Deathstroke on his own to fight against Lawman, Ravager, Snakebite, and Victor. Now he does try his best, but unfortunately there is too many of them. But luckily that is when you have Ravager being able to break the mind control Lawman had over her and begin to help her father out. The problem is though, Lawman is still a better fighter than Ravager, but Lawman is also not as exhausted as Deathstroke. And so he is able to go toe to toe with both characters. And matter of fact, he stabs both characters. We are left to believe that both Ravager and Deathstroke are going to die together as father and daughter. And matter of fact, he is getting ready for that final blow. And right when it looks like our heroes are about to die, that is when they disappear. And he's wondering what in the world just happened. And we're also wondering what in the world just happened, to only find out that they were saved by Jericho. Of course, Deathstroke's son, Ravager's brother. Now remember, he does have the ability to go into your body and possess your body, but apparently he also has the ability to kind of play mind games with your mind to make you believe that something is not truly there. Either way though, when it comes to Jericho, he's all like, yeah, I saved you, but don't thank me. You should thank somebody else who's going to help us bring down the whole Nova Council, and that would be Ra Ah Ghul. Deathstroke might have to join the League of Assassins to only get the help of Ra Ah Ghul. And so getting into the next chapter, this is where you can kind of say this is no longer a Tony S. Daniel book. It now belongs to James Boney, the new writer of this series. And really, you can kind of see it right here in this chapter, because in the opening pages, we pick up with Deathstroke currently undercover at some kind of casino, who's right now looking for his target. At the same time, his target is also looking for him. Now, when it comes to his target, we come to find out that his target belongs to a group known as the Dead Bastards. Now remember, when it comes to the Dead Bastards, they are a group of mercenaries the world believes to be dead, but in reality, they are alive and well. So for example, let's say you are well known in your area, but out of nowhere, word gets out that you had died. But in reality, you are alive and well. It's just that you are a mercenary and you had joined this group. And so it's best for you, for the world to believe that you are dead, so that you are able to work better in the shadows. Now, with that being said though, every single member of the Dead Bastards had the same kind of story where the world believes they are dead, but in reality they are not. Now, the group was being controlled by one guy, Victor Ruse. When it came to Victor Ruse, he was the same Victor who had just betrayed Deathstroke earlier by working alongside with the Lawman. Either way, it does seem like Deathstroke is going after different members of the Dead Bastards. This is him going at war against Victor. And the reason why, because he actually looked at Victor as a close friend, to only see his friend betray him for some money and basically almost left him for dead. And so his target at this casino is just another member of the Dead Bastards that he does kill off just like that. Now, this is where we see Deathstroke go over to Nada Parbat. Now, when it comes to this area, it is actually the home of the League of Assassins and of course Ra Ah Ghul. Now, apparently Ra Ah Ghul is giving Deathstroke and his two kids the ability to stay there with him as a way to protect them against the Lawman. Now, when it comes to Deathstroke, even though Ra Ah Ghul is doing this, he knows that Ra Ah Ghul has something else up his sleeve. The question is right now, what? What could the man be actually planning? Unfortunately for Deathstroke, he has no idea. Now, you do have Ra Ah Ghul tell Deathstroke that one thing he does want from the Wilson family is to have all three of them join the League of Assassins. Now, for Deathstroke, that's a huge no, for two reasons. One, he hates the idea in being in debt to Ra Ah Ghul. But secondly, his children will not be part of this group at all. He wants his kids to have a better life, a life away from all of this mess. And so he does tell Ra Ah Ghul no. We also see that when it comes to Rose Wilson, Ravager, the daughter of Deathstroke, that every once in a while she is confronted by Lawman in her mind. He still has that connection. And so is Ra Ah Ghul saying, it's going to take time for her to kind of break that link between him and her. But for right now, that link is strong. And so if you want to break it now, you have to go after them. And so apparently Ra Ah Ghul has been funding Deathstroke with all these different kind of trips to take out different members of the Dead Bastards. But now it's him saying, listen, it's time for you to go after the main one, Victor, but also go after the other ones as well, like Lawman and Snakebite. Now, this is where we jump over to the base of Lawman, Snakebite, Victor Ruse, and also another character known as Mysteria. Now, when it comes to these characters, they all are part of the Nova Council. And remember, the Nova Council goal is to go after different people who are metahumans, but who are criminals and using their powers as a way to make money. So like Deathstroke. Now, here's the thing though, because even though that's the reason why they're going after Deathstroke, you also have Mysteria say they have to also go after Rose and also Jericho. Now, here's the thing. Rose and Jericho, even though they have powers, they're not trying to use their powers for evil or try to use their powers to gain some money. And so in reality, she's kind of going after them for no good reason. But either way, she does tell the other members that, listen, we have to bring them in now. And this shows that she is actually the boss of the entire Nova Council. She is the boss of Lawman and Snakebite as well. But getting back over to Deathstroke, Rose, and also Jericho, we do see the three characters getting ready to attack the base that belongs to the Nova Council. Now, Ra Ah Ghul is not going to help out. And the reason why, because Deathstroke does not want to be in any kind of debt when it comes to working alongside with Ra Ah Ghul. He looks at Ra Ah Ghul as the devil on earth. Now, with that being said, Ra Ah Ghul is also trying to make Deathstroke become the next leader of the League of Assassins. He feels like Deathstroke is the next best choice after Batman. Now, with that being said though, he's also wanting to show Deathstroke, look, you don't have to get your hands dirty. You know what we could have done here? We could have sent in a small team of my soldiers to take out every single member of the Nova Council here, and the day be done in like an hour, and your hands would not be dirty at all. You are too worthy for something like this to do. But either way, you have Deathstroke say no, because again, he does not want to be in any kind of debt to Ra Ah Ghul. And so you have Deathstroke, Ravager, and also Jericho go inside the base and begin the process of attacking the place. And this fight goes on for a good few pages, where you do have Deathstroke, Ravager, and also Jericho being able to take out a lot of guards of this place. Now, the fight does get more interesting when they do run into Lawman, Snakebite, and Mysteria. Now again, when it comes to Mysteria, we don't know much about her, except we now know she does have abilities as well, where she's able to disappear. And it does look like she has the ability to change her body into smoke or mist, and then just disappear just like that, and then re-emerge somewhere else behind you or somewhere else entirely away from the fight. And so it's kind of a cool power, but at the same time, we still do not know much about her. Either way, you do have our heroes working together to try to fight against the members of the Nova Council. Now, the fight does go on to a point where you have Jericho lose control of his abilities. And when it comes to Jericho, sometimes he releases a huge amount of energy. And they say it's kind of like a small nuclear blast. And so when he does that, the entire building gets blown up, and everybody from Deathstroke, Ravager, Snakebite, Lawman, Mysteria, they all get blown away just like that. Now here's the problem though. Everybody else is A-OK except one person, and that one person is Ravager. It does look like she is very injured and could possibly die. And this is very huge for Deathstroke, because the one thing he wanted to do is to make sure that his children were never part of this life. And look, they are, and one might die here right now. And he already lost one child a long time ago. Now that is the moment you have Ra Ah Ghul appear and saying, listen, I have a way to save your daughter, but you have to agree to work with me. And so as we jump into the next chapter of this book, we do pick up with Ra Ah Ghul telling Deathstroke how he can save the life of Rose Wilson. And he says, listen, when it came to Jericho's mind blast, it did hurt us physically, but it also hurt us mentally, but it hurt her the most, to the point where her brain, her mind is dying right now. If her mind dies, heck, she dies. But I do have a medicine I produce that should be able to save her life, to save her mind, to heal her mind up. And so it's Deathstroke realizing that he has no choice here. He has to accept the offer from Ra Ah Ghul. Now, Ra Ah Ghul also says that when it comes to his medicine, it will also help Rose, protect Rose from anybody in the future trying to mind control her. But here is the catch. She will have to come to Ra Ah Ghul every single day for a dose of the medicine. Now, Deathstroke realized this is a trap, because then Rose will be an addict. She'll have no choice but to come back to Ra Ah Ghul over and over again, which could mean sooner or later she'll have to work for him. Something Ra Ah Ghul wants to have the entire family working for him. Either way, you have Deathstroke say, you know what, I have to basically accept this offer because my daughter is dying. But what he says is that, listen, to save her life, give her that medicine. But here's the thing, she will never work for you. And the reason why? Because I'll work for you. Meaning that even if you try to find a way to make her work for you, you cannot do that. You'll have to basically take my deal so that you will leave them alone. And you have Ra Ah Ghul say, fine, at least I have one of you guys who basically agreed to work for me. And so you have Ra Ah Ghul begin to try to save the life of Rose Wilson. Now, when it comes to the medicine, it can work, but you have Ra Ah Ghul begin to talk to Jericho about the idea of using his powers as a way to guide her back into reality by saying, listen, her mind is dying. Her mind is trying to go into the afterlife. You need to keep her here in reality so the medicine can work properly. Now, while he is saying that, you also have Ra Ah Ghul still trying to recruit Jericho. Even though Deathstroke agreed to work for the League of Assassins and said, do not go after my kids, it's Ra Ah Ghul still trying to find different ways as a way to recruit both Jericho and Rose. Now, Rose, she's unconscious, but Jericho is wide awake. He's all like, listen, you have to realize you have a great ability, but you also have to realize that in a world like this, you might have to kill some people to protect yourself. This is just Ra Ah Ghul planting the seeds in the mind of Jericho to join the League of Assassins. Now, while you have Ra Ah Ghul and Jericho trying to save the mind of Rose Wilson, you have Deathstroke fighting against the army of members of the Nova Council who are trying to kill all four of them off. And so it's up to him to protect Jericho, Rose, and also Ra Ah Ghul. He still has to fight the main members of the Nova Council as well. So, for example, Lawman, Snakebite, Mysteria, and also Victor Ruse. And so Deathstroke does have his hands full, but he's trying to do anything he can to make sure that his daughter, his son, and I guess Ra Ah Ghul do not die. Now, as the fight goes on, he is getting overwhelmed because there's too many of them. But luckily for him, you have Jericho, Ra Ah Ghul, and also Rose Wilson step in and say, back off. Which means the medicine that Ra Ah Ghul gave Rose actually worked. She's healed and she's back on her feet. But here's the thing though, because Ra Ah Ghul has also planted his seeds inside the mind of Rose Wilson. Because he saved her life, this begins the process of Rose possibly joining the League of Assassins along with her brother and her father. It's Ra Ah Ghul getting what he wants, the entire Slade family on his side. And so that leads into our characters going back home to the League of Assassins. Now, when it came to the Nova Council, they had retreated only because they realized it was probably best for them to go ahead and retreat. Now, when they do retreat, you then have our heroes go back home and you have Ra Ah Ghul begin the process of announcing new members to the League of Assassins. Now, he does announce the idea that Deathstroke is going to join. But then he says, oh, by the way, so is Rose and so is Jericho. Now, Deathstroke cannot believe what he just heard because him and Ra Ah Ghul had a deal. That deal was leave his children out of this life. He does not want his kids to be part of this life at all. He wants a better life for them. But unfortunately, when it came to Ra Ah Ghul, he planted the seeds in the minds of Jericho and Rose. And what I mean by that is because he saved the life of Rose Wilson with that medicine, she feels like she is in his debt. When it came to Jericho, he feels like Ra Ah Ghul can teach him how to control his powers even better. Both characters are right now saying, you know what? We should go ahead and join the League of Assassins. And for Deathstroke, he's one very upset father. And so as we jump into the final chapter for today's video, we do pick up with Deathstroke fighting against Ra Ah Ghul. Now here's the thing. This takes place in the future. Now we do have an idea what led to this moment with the idea of Ra Ah Ghul tricking Rose and Jericho to join the League of Assassins. But either way, it's kind of like something else must have happened to have Deathstroke wanting to kill Ra Ah Ghul. And what is that other reason? And so getting into the present day, we have Deathstroke just going off on Ra Ah Ghul. And honestly, he has the right to, because technically it's thanks to Ra Ah Ghul that Jericho and Rose have now joined the League of Assassins. Now for Deathstroke, he's all like, I told you, I don't want my children in this life. I wanted a better life for them. But when it comes to Rose and Jericho, they say, Father, you don't realize that technically this was the right choice. He saved Rose. We owe him one. But at the same time, he can teach me how to control my powers. And so it truly does feel like the two characters are kind of being blackmailed into joining the League of Assassins. But either way, so did Deathstroke. So right now, Ra Ah Ghul is their master. And he says, okay, it's time for us to attack the island that belongs to the dead bastards. It's time for us to finally capture the members of the Nova Council. And when it comes to the members of Nova Council, kind of the dead bastards as well, they know that sooner or later, Ra Ah Ghul, Deathstroke, and the League of Assassins will be on their way to this island to try to capture them. And they say they have no choice but to get ready and defend themselves and this island. The problem is though, the alarms go off and that tells them, oop, trouble has arrived. And that means they are gonna be there very soon. And so then we jump back over to our heroes. Now, when we do, we see our heroes currently right now on their way over to Danger Island. Now, on their way there, you didn't have Jericho realize, hey, something is wrong with that medicine. Now, before he is able to tell his father, Deathstroke, like, hey, there's something wrong with the medicine that Ra Ah Ghul is giving Rose, that is when they're shot out of the sky and they have no choice but to crash hard onto the island, better known as Danger Island. Now, as soon as they crash, you didn't have our heroes say, okay, it's time for us to go ahead and find the members of the Nova Council. Now, with that being said, Deathstroke wants to find Victor first. And the reason why, because Victor was a close friend of Deathstroke in the earlier parts of this series. But of course, he found out that Victor was a traitor, and so he wants to kill off Victor first. Now, when it comes to Deathstroke, he knows when it comes to the rest of the members of the League of Assassins attacking the island, it is going to grab the attention of Snakebite, Lawman, and Mysteria, which means that Victor will be by himself. But on top of that, Victor is hiding out in his base because Victor is watching over the entire fight, which means our heroes are able to sneak up behind him and then be able to grab him and possibly kill him. Now, when it comes to Ra Ah Ghul, he's the man in charge because since Deathstroke and his kids had joined the League of Assassins, they technically work for Ra Ah Ghul. And he says, I want every single member of the Nova Council alive, not killed. Capture them and bring them to me alive. Now, the next few pages are really more of our heroes trying to capture Victor, and when they get close to him, he is able to get away. But it does lead into a lot of different things happening all at once, with them trying to capture Victor, with them trying to fight against the other members of the Nova Council. But this all leads into us finding out what Ra Ah Ghul wants from the Nova Council. Because remember, he told Deathstroke and his kids, do not kill off anybody who's part of the Nova Council. Remember, I want them alive and I want you to bring them to me. And so, once we have our heroes being able to take down Snakebite, Lawman, Mysteria, and also Victor, this leads into Ra Ah Ghul explaining why he wants them alive for. And we kind of find out the reason why Ra Ah Ghul wanted these folks alive because he wants them to join the League of Assassins as well. It's Ra Ah Ghul trying to take over the Nova Council. Now, here's the thing, because with the League of Assassins fighting alongside with Ra Ah Ghul, Deathstroke, and Jericho, and also Rose, they were able to take out most of the Nova Council, only leaving behind the main members. And so they have no choice but to go ahead and join the League of Assassins. And so you have Mysteria, Lawman, Snakebite, they all say yes, we'll join the League of Assassins. Even Victor, except right before Victor says yes, he is stabbed by Deathstroke. And that is a huge no-no, because Ra Ah Ghul said, bring them to me alive. Do not kill them at all. You have to follow my orders because you're now part of the League of Assassins. But this is Deathstroke saying, nah, bro, you know what? Forget that. I wanted Victor dead and he's now dead. And that ticks off Ra Ah Ghul because that's you right there disobeying orders, which means you have to die if you disobey my orders. It leads into a fight between Deathstroke and Ra Ah Ghul. And so this leads into Deathstroke and Ra Ah Ghul fighting against one another. Now here's the thing though, because these two characters at first seem to be very evenly matched because their battle is going back and forth, except when it comes to Ra Ah Ghul, he has been around a whole lot longer, which means that he is a better fighter. He knows more moves to use to basically win a battle, like right now. And so you have Ra Ah Ghul being able to defeat Deathstroke, except right when it seems like Ra Ah Ghul is about to kill off Deathstroke, that is when he is saved by Jericho. You have Jericho say, no, you will not kill our father, and my sister and I are no longer going to be part of the League of Assassins. Now, the reason why he is saying that, because of the medicine. And he says there is no medicine. What you gave my sister wasn't medicine at all, because Jericho is able to read his mind and realize that it wasn't the medicine that saved her, it was him. His powers saved the mind of his sister. And so he realized there was no medicine. You lied to us. You made us believe that we were in your debt, that we owed you something in return for basically saving her life. That is why we joined the League of Assassins. But in reality, we owe you nothing. And he says, no, you had to let us go. Let us leave the League of Assassins, because what kind of leader goes out of his way to do something like this and basically build a relationship of lies? But on top of that, you realize you don't have the right to take us in. You don't have the right to actually own us because you lied to us. And so you have Ra Ah Ghul agree, all right, you know what? Go ahead and leave and take your father as well. And that's really it. The story ends on that note. You're kind of like, okay, that's a very fast ending, but I guess we move on. And so this is where we end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But also remember, guys, if you have any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But guys, I'll see y'all next time. Later.